Have you ever looked at someone you love, a parent, a grandparent, and thought they just don't seem like themselves anymore? They're quieter, more tired, maybe forgetful, maybe sad. But here's the truth. It's not just aging. Right now, millions of older adults in the US are silently battling depression, anxiety, and loneliness. And most families never notice until it's too late. This isn't about weakness, it's about being human, because no matter how old you are, your mind still needs care, love, and connection. And today, we're going to talk about the part of aging no one talks about. In the United States, more than 7 million adults over the age of 65 are living with depression. But here's what's truly alarming. Most of them have never been officially diagnosed. That's because the symptoms don't always look like sadness or crying. Sometimes it's fatigue, sometimes it's irritability, and sometimes it's silence. Families often brush it off. It's just old age. They're slowing down. But no, what you're seeing might be something deeper. According to the CDC, older adults face a higher risk of mental health problems than any other age group, yet they're the least likely to receive proper mental health care. That's not just a healthcare failure, it's a national tragedy. Loneliness, loss, physical decline, retirement, grief, these are all emotional burdens that come crashing down around the same time in later life. And while society talks about arthritis and blood pressure, it says almost nothing about the pain inside. Worse, older adults themselves often believe they're supposed to tough it out. Many were raised in generations where talking about emotions was seen as weakness. So they don't talk, they don't ask for help, they suffer in silence. And the silence is killing them. Studies show that depression in seniors often goes untreated for years, and untreated depression is linked to a higher risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, and even suicide. Yes, suicide. In fact, the suicide rate for men over 75 is one of the highest of any age group in America, and yet no one is talking about it. News headlines scream about pandemics, inflation, and politics, but not this. Doctors focus on cholesterol and medications, but not this. Families notice physical changes, but not this. This is the hidden epidemic, and it's not invisible because it's rare. It's invisible because it's ignored. Until now. Because the truth is, mental health is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Especially in the final chapters of life, when the need for connection, purpose, and peace becomes greater than ever before. And if we don't start paying attention now, we risk losing the ones we love while they're still right in front of us. You can't always see it happening. But inside the mind of someone struggling with untreated mental health issues, damage is unfolding, quietly, steadily, and deeply. Depression and anxiety don't just affect how someone feels. They affect how the brain works, how the body functions, and how fast it breaks down. Loneliness, for example, is more than just a feeling. It's been scientifically linked to higher blood pressure, weakened immune response, increased inflammation, and cognitive decline. One major study found that chronic loneliness increases the risk of early death by 26%. That's the same level of risk as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And yet, it doesn't show up on a blood test. Think about this. A senior who seems withdrawn may not just be resting or taking it easy. They may be mentally slipping away day by day while the world keeps moving around them. Worse still, mental health issues often mimic physical problems. Depression can look like memory loss. Anxiety can feel like chest pain. Stress can trigger digestive problems, fatigue, or even symptoms that resemble dementia. So instead of getting support, many older adults get misdiagnosed or dismissed entirely. Doctors treat the symptoms. Family members make excuses, and the person suffering feels more and more invisible. This emotional isolation becomes a cycle. The less they feel seen, the more they shut down. The more they shut down, the more invisible they become. And here's the cruel twist. The people who are suffering the most are often the least likely to speak up. They don't want to burden anyone. They don't want to sound weak. They tell themselves, this is just life now, but it's not. It doesn't have to be. Because when mental health declines, the whole body follows. And if we don't recognize these invisible consequences early, they'll quietly steal the joy, clarity, and connection that make life worth living. Let me tell you about John. John is 72 years old. He served in the military, raised a family, and worked hard his entire life. 3 years ago, his wife, his high school sweetheart, passed away unexpectedly. At first, John told everyone he was fine. He kept busy, kept quiet, and told his children not to worry, but inside he was unraveling. Days started blending together. He stopped answering the phone. He lost interest in the news, his favorite TV shows, even food. He would sit on the couch in silence for hours, staring at nothing. His kids thought he was just getting older. But what was really happening? John was deeply depressed. He wasn't sleeping well. He stopped shaving. His medication started piling up, and the worst part, no one realized the severity until John had a minor heart attack. At the hospital, the nurse asked him when he last felt truly happy. He didn't have an answer. Only then did his family begin to see what had really been going on. They assumed his body was failing, but really, it was his mind that needed healing. Now, let me tell you about Elaine. Elaine is 76. She spent most of her life taking care of others, her children, her husband, her parents. When her husband passed and her kids moved away, she found herself completely alone in a big, quiet house. She didn't want to bother anyone. She told herself she was fine, but every evening the silence grew heavier and the walls felt closer. One day, while at the pharmacy, she saw a flyer for a local community dance class for seniors. At first, she laughed. Me? Dancing at this age? But something inside her whispered, why not? She went. She danced. And for the first time in years, she smiled without forcing it. The music, the laughter, the touch of another person's hand. It was like waking up after a long, grey winter. She met friends. She started walking more. She started cooking again. She even joined a book club and a walking group. Elaine wasn't cured overnight, but something changed. She found purpose. She found connection. She found herself again. John's story is a warning. Elaine's story is a light, and both are true reflections of what so many older adults experience every day. Mental health in later life isn't just about sadness. It's about identity, community, and the basic human need. To be seen, heard, and valued. You go to the doctor for your heart, your blood pressure, your cholesterol. They run tests, they look at numbers, they prescribe pills. But when was the last time a doctor asked, "How are you?" Really? For millions of older adults, that question never comes. That's because our healthcare system is built to treat symptoms, not people. It focuses on bones and blood, not emotions and isolation. And when seniors do mention sadness, fatigue, or forgetfulness, it's often brushed aside with, "That's just part of aging." But it's not. Here's something most doctors won't tell you. The brain doesn't stop needing care just because the body slows down. Mental health is just as critical as physical health, especially in later life, when so much is changing and so many are grieving. Many emotional struggles in older adults are misdiagnosed or completely missed. Why? Because traditional medical training spends almost no time on geriatric mental health. Doctors are taught to look for heart murmurs, not heartbreak. That's why so many older adults leave the doctor's office with another prescription, when what they really need is connection, purpose, or even just someone to talk to. And while medication can help, it's not the only answer. Talk therapy, support groups, spiritual practices, and volunteering can be just as effective, sometimes more. Healing takes more than medicine. It takes being seen, being heard, being treated like more than a checklist. And until the system changes, we have to step up, ask deeper questions, notice the quiet signs, and push for better care, not just for our bodies, but for our minds and hearts. Here's the good news. Mental decline in later life isn't always inevitable. There are things you can do, starting today, that can restore clarity, lift your mood, and reconnect you with joy and purpose. You don't need expensive treatments. You don't need to move across the country. And you don't need to just accept it. You just need a plan. Let's start simple. Move your body. Even 20 or 30 minutes of gentle movement can change your entire day. Walk, stretch, garden, dance. Move in a way that feels good to you. If you can, do it outside. Let the sunlight touch your skin. Let your lungs fill with fresh air. Let the rhythm of your steps remind your brain that you're still alive and still in control. Stay connected. Call a friend. Talk to your neighbor. Join a local group or attend a community event. Don't wait for someone else to check on you. Reach out first. Connection isn't about how many people are in your life. It's about knowing that someone would notice if you weren't there. Stimulate your mind. Read. Listen to music. Solve puzzles. Learn something new. Your brain wants to be challenged. It wants to grow. Even small daily mental activity keeps your memory strong and your spirit alive. Watch what you eat. Nutrition plays a massive role in how you feel. Eat more. Whole foods. Cut back on sugar and processed snacks. Drink water. Stay hydrated. Your gut and your brain are connected, and when one suffers, the other does too. Get your rest. Good sleep helps regulate your mood, focus, and immune system. Create a nighttime routine. Make your room cool and quiet. Turn off the TV. Put down the phone and let your mind slow down. If you're having trouble sleeping, talk to your doctor. Don't let poor sleep become your new normal. And finally, talk about it. Find someone who listens. A friend, a support group, a therapist, a spiritual guide. You don't have to carry your pain alone. There is no shame in needing help. There is strength in reaching out. You are not a burden. You are not too old. You are not invisible. You are here. You still matter, and your story is far from over. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your children, with your spouse, with a neighbor, a caregiver, or a friend. Because maybe the person who needs to hear this is someone who's been silently struggling for years. And if you want more honest, caring, real conversations like this, subscribe. This channel is here for you, for your truth, your growth, your healing. You still have time, you still have purpose, you still have chapters left to write. And the next one might just be the best one yet.